Domino Stein only having one other Pokemon in reserve, of course, the Corviknight dying at the end, and that last one, Domino Stein, of course, playing for Hexagon MC. That will mean the Hexagon MC takes up 2 points. Pokecafe, not Pokecafe, Pokeslam only takes one. Um, a very impressive showing from both battlers there. And to anyone in chat, don't think about leaving just yet, because we do have more. There is another match scheduled, 3 rounds, as just before, with PixelmonGO and Unsorted coming just now. It's scheduled for a minute from now. Isn't that just fantastic how that's worked out?
The timing was impeccable, that's for sure. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've had anything that close right there.
Also, I do want to say that match was great fun to watch. Lots of Pokemon there that you don't normally get to see that much. And of course, Trick Room teams are always fun. Um, fun to play as and fun to watch, not fun to play against. Um, but our next battle seems to be coming up. Battlers are readying themselves. CM Doge of PixelmonGO and Fatless Sync of Unsorted. The name Fatless Sync kind of concerns me because the idea of a sync that has fat is a worrying thought. So once again, as I stated earlier, we're in the early group stages. So these are the first fights of this year, and uh, many of the servers that are participating this year did not participate last year, and also many of the servers that are participating this year that did participate last year have different players. So there's not much of a history yet in terms of knowing the players and their reputations and their fighting skills and what have you. Um, but we'll be building that up as we go along this year, and with certain standout names and servers and what have you. Um, and I see an Iron Valiant on one side and a Diancie on another. As we have two massively offensive Pokemon butting heads right from turn one. Depending on what moves these Pokemon are running, they could both potentially be threatening each other. Um, although I do not know if Mega Diancie is very fast. I think it might be faster than an unboosted Iron Valiant, and I didn't quite see if that Iron Valiant was boosted or not. Um, base 110 and Iron Valiant is base 116. Iron Valiant is faster, boosted or not. And it does take a huge chunk out of the Mega Diancie. Bring it down to 8.3%, but dies from a Moonblast in the process. It'll be very interesting to see if that was a worthwhile trade. Bringing the Diancie very close to death, but Diancie has no form of recovery outside of Moonlight, I believe, which isn't a very good recovery move. Um, Trading a huge chunk of damage on that offensive Pokemon, but dying in the process. We'll have to see later on in the match if that was really a worthwhile trade. The Amoonguss coming out. I don't think there's much as Diancie can do to threaten it. And the Giga Drain from an Amoonguss will likely finish off this Diancie. Likely we're going to see a Spore coming out, though, as either a Spore into Giga Drain will obviously kill, but also Spore will punish any switch-ins. Well, most switch-ins, unless it's a grass type, but punish most switch-ins. Although, of course, we don't know what the teams are. The players do. The players do have team preview, but we don't. So they will know. The Amoonguss going for a Sludge Bomb, not doing much, only doing about 15% to the Landorus, which it regens half of its leftovers. Meaning it's not Scarfed, it's not Rocky Helmet, it's not any of that, which narrows down what it's running. Probably a utility Landorus. Also, this Landorus will be faster. And although it doesn't one-shot, and with anything, I don't believe it. I do believe it can heavily threaten this Amoonguss. So Amoonguss will likely either go for a Spore and then into a switch, or just switch outright this turn. It'll be very interesting to see what Fatless Sync does from here. Fatless Sync of Team Unsorted, who we're spectating. Losing that Iron Valiant very early on could potentially hurt, as though Iron Valiant is a very good early game offensive Pokemon. It's also a fantastic late game sweeper, and not having that utility could be devastating. As the Amoonguss stays in, as the Landorus U-turns away, so that our Cortana can come in and take a Spore, not caring. As its grass type immunity gives it, grass typing gives it immunity to Spore. Depending on what this Cortana is running, Cortana is a Pokemon that doesn't have fantastic coverage, so it's not too uncommon to see it run Aerial Ace, although it switches into a Tapu Koko and gets it by a foul play, setting Electric Terrain. Very likely we could be seeing a Paradox Pokemon come out here. Or Tapu Koko might just be playing around with its food a bit. We'll have to see. Lots of pivoting on CM Doge's side, though. If Fatless Sync was running hazards, or at least set them early on, because he could have hazards, but just might not be running. Sorry, could have hazards, just might not have used them yet. Then maybe CM Doge wouldn't be pivoting around so willy-nilly, but as of right now, they have more than enough space to do so. Tapu Koko Volt switching out into Cortana again, not taking any damage from a Sludge Bomb. Cortana knocks off the Amoonguss, getting rid of its Rocky Helmet, and doing quite a chunk of damage to it as well, as the Amoonguss hits the Cortana with a foul play, doing about 60%. Landorus comes in, and the Heatran comes in. This is a very unfortunate scenario. It's also not an air balloon Heatran. Very unfortunate scenario for Fatless Sync here, as that Heatran is essentially immediately forced out turn one. the decision here is: do you, as as the Heatran? Okay, there we go. So just switch out anyway. Switch into the Rotom, taking a Stealth Rock as CM Doge does set Stealth Rock. I was just saying that CM Doge was pivoting around easily without any hazards, and they're the one to set hazards of all people. The Heatran comes out, and the Rotom Wash is in play. Landorus is likely forced out here. Doesn't really like taking Hydro Pumps, as they switch into their own Rotom Wash, who gets Will-O-Wisp. Very interesting. Fatless Sync predicting the switch, so choosing to Will-O-Wisp. Or perhaps she's thinking that the Landorus can't do much to it, so Will-O-Wisping it in the case it stays in. Unsure, but either way, the result is that CM Doge's Rotom Wash is also burnt. As it Volt switches out, critting as well. As the opposing Rotom also attempts to Volt Switch, but it can't, as CM Doge brings in the Landorus. CM Doge switches to Tapu Koko, now threatening this Rotom. I don't know if this Tapu Koko can one-shot it at the Rotom's current health, but it can certainly hurt it. Rotom does not want to stay in for too long, and it switches to a Moongus, which takes a Thunderbolt, leaving it at 63 health. I don't know if that's going to live another Thunderbolt. And either way, with the low health it has right now, it certainly doesn't want to. It will not be able to do what it wants to do, which is not really care that much about damage and spore things, because now it will have to care about damage. It probably will be too slow to spore anything. As the opposing Rotom comes in, taking the Thunderbolt and dying in the process. Fatless Sync absolutely on the back foot now. Has been in the back foot, honestly, since losing that Iron Valiant so early on. But absolutely in the back foot now. Losing that Rotom Wash is really going to sting, as I don't know. I mean, we've only seen, I think, 4 members of their team. We've not seen anything that could potentially deal with the Landers except this. This is potentially a Dragon Dance Ice Punch Dragonite. It could theoretically deal with the Landorus, but also going to have to hope that this Tapu Koko is choice spec, because if not, it can just Dazzling Gleam and heavily threaten the Dragonite. But it's not. It is Thunderbolt. It is likely choice spec. As Dragonite sets up its first Dragon Dance. Multi-scale, halving the damage from Thunderbolts, leaving it with about 2/3. It'll be very interesting to see if well, it doesn't. I was going to ask if it could maybe live another Thunderbolt, but it doesn't matter. The Landorus coming in, taking an E-speed and not really caring, and also lowering the attack by 1, meaning that Dragon Dance is only giving a +1 to speed at this moment. The Dragonite is likely faster, and it has Outrage, meaning it's probably not running Ice Punch. The Landorus Toxics the Dragonite, perhaps not expecting to survive. As this Dragonite is now locked into Outrage for at least 1 more turn. And it is toxic, so it's now in a timer. At least one of the players is thinking quite hard right now. I think it might be Fatless Sync quite on the back foot. Well, in fact, no, it won't be Fatless Sync because they're locked into Outrage. It will be CM Doge. Think about what they want to do here. Bring in the Coco, not being affected at all by the Outrage due to its fairy typing. And also resetting its choice lock. If it is running Dazzling Gleam, it can now easily kill this Dragonite. In fact, I can probably kill it with a Thunderbolt now that it doesn't have multi-skill, as I believe the Thunderbolt was going to do around half, I think. Probably a bit more, so it did about 30% through multi-skill. Dragonite is probably just dead here, unfortunately. However, decides to E-speed the Landorus coming back in, reducing that attack once again. As it's now plus, the Dragonite is now +1 speed, -1 attack. Taking another tick of toxic damage in the process. I think it can last for 2 more turns before it dies from toxic. However, it might not even last that long. CM Doge thinking carefully here. Depending on what this Landorus clicks, if it clicks E-Speed and they switch to Tapu Koko, the Koko dies. If it clicks Outrage and the Landorus is still on the field, I don't know if the Landorus lives. It might die too. Thinking about what they want to do here. Although CM Doge does still have, I believe, at least one more Pokemon that I don't think has been on field yet. Although I don't know if that would fare any better. As the Iron Valiant comes in, the Dragonite goes for an Earthquake, expecting the Koko switch in, but there is no Koko switch in. With the electric terrain up, Iron Valiant's speed is increased, and which does likely. Oh, the Dragonite is just alive with 7 health, but I don't think it's going to matter. I believe that this Iron Valiant outspeeds with that Quark Drive activation, and it beyond threatens this Dragonite, which has 7 health left. Extreme Speed doing a bit more damage, but not much, as the Iron Valiant simply Calm Minds, as the Dragonite does with toxic damage. Now, this Iron Valiant is now, it's likely a special one with that Calm Mind, is now at +1 speed, +1 special attack, +1 special defense. I don't know if this was early game, then this would be scary, but not hugely scary. But this is late game now, and Fatless Sync only has a couple Pokemon left. I think maybe 2, maybe even 1 left. Not much left. I don't see it living. Is the Default hack, likely a Z Thunderbolt, killing the Among Us. I just call them. I just call it Among Us. I just call it Among Us. Sorry. Killing the Among Us in the process. Electric Terrain is now gone though, so it no longer has that speed boost, but it does still have that special attack and special defense boost. And depending on what Fatless Sync has left, it might not need that speed boost, as Corviknight rears its face. Its head. Takes a bit of stealth throat chip, but that doesn't matter too much. However, the Iron Valiant has already revealed it has a electric type attack in there. I think it's either a Thunderbolt or a Thunder or a Discharge. I have no idea what electric move Iron Valiant gets. Either way, +1 special attack. Corviknight is usually built defensively, very rarely specially defensive. I don't see it living an electric type attack, especially at +1 from this Iron Valiant. I don't know if Fatless Sync can do much from here. I think this game might be guaranteed going in CM Doge's favor. They switch out to Rotom, taking the body press, not caring at all. I don't think this Corviknight. I've run Corviknight myself quite a lot, and it has multiple sets, and I don't think a single set it has anything that can threaten a Rotom Wash. It hits it with a Volt Switch, doing just over half. As it pivots into Tapu Koko, setting electric terrain once more, which does mean that the Iron Valiant can just come back in and do whatever it wants. This Corviknight uses Body Press, and even though the Tapu Koko is very low, it's not low enough, and the Tapu Koko will actually live, allowing it to likely just clean up this Corviknight here. And I don't know if Atlasync has anything else left. They might have one left. I don't think it's enough. So the Coco likely is going to switch into the Iron Valiant here. So Diancie comes out. Ah, yes, the Diancie all the way from turn 1. I forgot about this. It's on 8.3%. It ain't doing too well. But even then, I think it's probably enough to probably deal with whatever Fatless Sync has left. Does have base 110 speed. It's quite the fast Pokemon. We appear to have a bug, but frankly, I'm not entirely sure it matters. I don't think Fatless Sync really had much of a chance here, especially with that electric terrain Iron Valiant still in the pocket. Unless it was something that really could sweep the entirety of CM Doja's team, which I see is unlikely. I think it probably doesn't matter even if the match is bugged. I do believe that Fatless Sync is um, unfortunately has a guaranteed loss here. Even if it is bugged. Just trying to figure out the calcs on this, I believe.
I just realized I was muted this entire time. Whoops.
Yep. So current deal is, as you likely see, is a bit of conundrum where battle bugged out unfortunately at the very end, and it's either a 6-0 or a 5-0, depending on a very specific rule. Although I don't think we ever got the confirmation of what EV spread the Heatran was running, which might have changed what it was, unless they have that information behind the scenes.
I do believe they do, and as we're looking at things, chances are I believe it is potentially a 6-0.
So to clarify, is what's happening in chat to those still watching. Is we're gonna have a very quick rematch of a specific scenario versus the Diancie and the Heatran. Because the fight between the two, the Diancie with Stealth Rocks and Earth Power has a 62% chance to kill, but it's not guaranteed. If that doesn't kill, then the Diancie does die to the Heatran. If the rule we're doing is we're going to redo it, that specific scenario, and if the Heatran lives the attack with less than 12% HP, that means it would have died with the Stealth Rock damage. So it will be counted as a 6-0 for CM Doge. If it is more than 12%, CM Doge still had a Rotom Wash and an Iron Valiant, and presumably other things that never came out on the field that could also deal with the Heatran. Meaning it would be a 5-0 for CM Doge. Either way, CM Doge has won this regardless. There's no way that he doesn't. However, we're just trying to decide if it is a 6-0 win or a 5-0 win.
One moment.
Either way, this regardless, this is a fight that CM Doge has won. So the first victory does go to PixelmonGO. %. Therefore, it would have lived. Therefore, the Dancy would have died. Therefore, it's a 5-0 win. Congratulations to CM Doge and to PixelmonGO for winning the first fight between PixelmonGO and Unsorted. Yes, quite a weird way for a fight to end, but it's the end of a fight regardless. And CM Doge does win the first fight for their team. I know, I do apologize for that. I called you like a bajillion different genders a bajillion different times. And I'm aware that I think other people did in chat. We're having our next match between PixelmonGO and Unsorted. Now we have, I believe, Shy Kimmy for PixelmonGO versus Ashura03 for Unsorted. Currently, obviously, it's 1 point up for PixelmonGO from the last match. So, Sorted will need to try to claw their way back. And the fight begins. Lucky the fight starting. So our leads are a Cortana and a Cleavor. Honestly, unsure what these two really do to each other. So interesting type interactions. Immediately off the bat, they're both very, very low. The Cleavor living at only 0.4%, and the Cortana at very little health itself. Cortana is, I believe, faster here, unless one is scarfed. I did not see the first turn, unfortunately. So I can't tell you that, but I had to assume that this Cleavor needs to get the hell out of dodge. If it wants to live at all. I mean, with that low percentage left, is there a huge point to keeping it alive? I'm not sure. So Cleavor comes out, and the Gyarados comes in, taking a smart strike, not really caring, especially with that Intimidate. Cortana doing less damage now. Of course, now that I think about it, even if you don't want that, even if you like don't really care about keeping that Cleavor alive, there's another aspect, and that's not letting the Cleavor die to the Cortana and allowing it to Beast Boost. With that Gyarados now in, I'm unsure if it threatens the Cortana, honestly. If the Cortana is choice locked, it's choice locked into Smart Strike, meaning it doesn't really hurt the Gyarados that much. But if it's not choice locked, like it isn't with a Leaf Blade that's a crit and a kill. Even with that attack reduction from Intimidate, doesn't matter. Grits will bypass that, and also now the Cortana gets a +1 attack from Beast Boost, bringing it back into the neutral. As the Iron Moth comes into play with a speed boost from its booster energy, now easily threatening this Cortana. Either it's up to I was gonna say it's up to Sure if they want to kill it, just let it die, or to switch it out. But they're going to switch it out into a Pelipper, revealing what is likely a rain team. Our second rain team today. Oh, the Iron Moth goes for the discharge, killing the Pelipper. It is always very big when a rain team loses its rain setter very early on. That could cripple this team in the long term. Excuse me. With that Pelipper gone, the amount of time to capitalize on the rain is going to be going down and down and down, with the knowledge remaining that once that rain is gone, it is gone. Because I very much doubt they have any other rain setters. So Swampert comes out. Oh Jesus, my voice. Save me. With the Swampert Swift Swim, do believe it's faster than I think it's faster than the Armoth. I'm not entirely sure. Armoths are known for running Energy Bowl. Armoth substitutes. Potentially a good choice as the Swampert flip turns out. Very good choice. Tapu Lele comes in. Psychic Aura afflicts the field, meaning priority is a no-go, but Iron Moth doesn't run any priority. And of course, it's not running on E-Terrain, it's running on its own booster energy, and the Tapu Lele dies in one hit to the Sludge Wave. This match is going by very fast, Pokemon dropping left and right. Think Shura is thinking carefully. Because now they know that I can't remember the substitute priority. I don't think substitute priority.
Apologies for that. Some minor technical difficulties on my end. I am back and ready to go. Looks like the next series
Welcome
of
back.
battles has occurred, yes, between Shy Kimi and Ashura.
Yes, we're halfway in. And Ashura's running a rain team, but they lost their Pelipper on turn 5.
Ooh, that's not good.
They've also lost their Tapu Lele as well, that died just last turn to this Iron Moth. Which is Corp Drive boosted through its booster energy.
I see.
Iron Moth substituting, taking a bit of damage from a waterfall. Well, taking the substitute damage, but not, the damage from the waterfall itself. Perhaps scouting. Subbing again, the Iron Moth only living at 0.3% health. Perhaps trying to just burn through that rain, knowing that once it's gone, it's gone. But of course, an Iron Moth cannot live another turn. And the rain is still up. The Iron Moth Sludge Waving not doing much. Unfortunately, not running Energy Bowl, running Discharge, Sludge Wave, presumably Fire Dance. The Iron Moth is down, and Swampert is still on field. However, rain is gone, meaning that Swampert is now back down to its base 70 speed.
Also,
which is
for the
gonna be
record, I
rough.
could be wrong, but I think on the one moment. I thought there was a bit of a bug, but I think things are going all right.
Grimmsnarl comes in, sets up Reflect. Not taking much from a waterfall, not caring too much. Likely setting up light screens next, and then going to be pivoting out, possibly with a parting shot. Swampert can't do much to it, and now that rain is gone, the waterfall damage boost is gone, and the speed boost is gone, and the Swampert is as its spirit breaks, doing a bit of damage, not a whole lot, leaving it with just around half health left. Keep in mind the Swampert was hit by a sludge bomb, not sludge bomb, sludge wave from the Armoth earlier, so that half health doesn't mean much. But the Galarian Sloan King comes out, getting hit by a Spirit Break, not taking much damage, not caring too much. Expecting the Grimmsnarl now to either set up its second screen and leave, or just straight up leave. I don't expect it to stay in for much longer, especially because it is potentially threatened by a Sludge Bomb. Sets up Light Screen. Now with that, Chilly Reception, not going for the Sludge Bomb at all. Going straight for the pivot. Very interesting.
Chances are, though, it probably allows more opportunity to set up Reflect and making everything bulkier.
Well, Reflect is already up.
That much
Reflect
is
was set
true.
up 2
I
turns ago.
apologize. I might have missed it earlier.
Zapdos comes in. Zapdos, of course, in rain, usually running Weather Ball, so usually gets the Water type Weather Ball. In snow, it turns to ice instead. So will potentially be able to use that to its advantage.
There we go. Grimmsnarl going for taunt here, actually, which is definitely an interesting choice. As Grimmsnarl is now confused. Snow's still falling fairly heavily. How much damage
Perhaps,
would something like an ice type weather ball do
not any
if
more
it
than a
even wants to
hurricane.
go for that?
Whoops.
Out
As the
comes the
Cleavor
Cleavor, and
comes
Hurricane, of course,
in,
missing the
being
attack.
missed by the. That's very big, actually. So that Cleavor would have
It goes
died
to
as the
Stone Axe,
Max
critical hit,
hits
and
it.
immediately paralyzing, immediately KOing. But Cleavor has essentially been neutered at this point, as we now see that it is paralyzed. The next fast attacker would probably be enough to KO. And comes to
The
Cortana.
Kartana comes
Talks
in,
about
taking
barely
rock
letting it live.
damage. Likely just letting the Cleavor die here. Unless it's, even if it is scarfed, it's paralyzed. It's not living that as it gets knocked off.
Interestingly enough, the
Dies to
snow has
that.
stopped and the
The
reflect
Reflect is
gone.
gone too. Light Screen remains up, but Light Screen will not help you much against a Kartana. Also of note, Kartana's Beast Boost has just procced, giving it a +1 to attack.
And comes Grimmsnarl once
Grimmsnarl
again
comes
here. But the
in.
interesting dilemma is how effective would something like a
Well, like
Grimmsnarl be? And more importantly, does this
Kartana.
actually have
Also Kartana has Smart Strike, which Shakimi already knows. They specifically brought that in to set the Reflect to allow for something else, like an Ursaluna, to live whatever Cortana's going to throw at it. A Leaf Blade, most likely. Even at +1 attack, in fact, no, it's at +2 now behind. I'm not sure if it lives a Leaf Blade, to be honest, even behind a Reflect.
It comes
It's
Leaf
going
Blade
to
once
hurt a
again,
lot.
barely surviving.
Ooh,
Episode is enough to
but
KO it.
surviving enough.
I do think a burn does KO here. If
It's
there's
guts. Doesn't take burn
anything,
damage. Doesn't take burn damage.
I do think burn will KO next turn though.
Well,
I
burn
imagine
doesn't. I don't think it does damage because it's guts. Am I
you'd be
done? It
surprised.
doesn't
Burn does
doesn't
actually.
doesn't. I thought it
Burn
didn't take
does
any
proc the guts.
damage.
Keep in mind,
Well, I know it procs guts, but I don't think it does damage.
it actually does. In
Um,
fact, um, so Shy Kimmy has only like one chance to make the right call
Either
here.
way, Asher has already
Oh,
lost quite a few things. Either way, I believe Ursaluna is slower than Swampert, Mega Swampert. So
yep,
I don't
there
believe it
we
matters
go.
too much.
Light screen has worn off, and in comes the Jirachi. This is going to be interesting. I do believe this is either a nor. Oh my god, going for Z
Zed
Happy
Happy
Hour
Hour.
actually.
Okay.
Certainly a bold play. However,
Doesn't take much. Hmm.
Earthquake does I want to say less than half, which is a little bit surprising to me, especially because it's super effective. How much damage is this next move going to do? There we go. Here comes Stored Power,
Immediately
immediately removing the
KOs
Swampert.
as Asher's team just slowly gets dismantled. I don't know if they have anything left to deal with this Jirachi. I might be wrong, but the Galarian Slowking comes in. I doubt it can do much. Any damage at all.
For the record,
But
this Jirachi acts like it has 150 special defense, at least in base stats, mainly due to the fact of the Happy Hour. Things are not looking good for Ashura here.
losing that Pelipper really early on has really crippled this rain team and not really allowed it to make that much space. Um, and I do believe that Shakimi still has multiple more Pokemon that have not yet seen the field.
Oh my god, he's trying to greed
Going
and
for
potentially
another.
go for a
To be
Calm Mind.
fair, what can this Slowking really do about it? It's not going to Toxic it. It's not going to Sludge Bomb it. Future Sight only happens in 2 turns, and even then, it's not going to do much.
And comes Store
This
Power, still not quite enough to KO. As Chill Reception comes in, what is going to happen in this situation?
don't think Asher can do much. I don't think they've.
There we
Yep,
go. We get
and they.
confirmation.
Yep.
Shy Kimmy beating Ashura with only a
Mhm.
single Pokemon left.
That is now PixelmonGO, I believe. They are now up 2. They won the first game, and they've now won the second as well.
We'll have to see if this is a proper 3-0 sweep here.
Mm-hmm. Unsorted will really need to win this last match, at least to get some points on the board. Keep in mind, this next match is our last match of the day. In the interim, I would like to say thanks all who are currently watching. This is the Pixelmon World Cup. If you would like to support in any way at all, you can go to the Pixelmon World Cup website, and there is a specific area to sponsor. We already have a few sponsors, and it would be really, really nice to get a few more. This is a completely independent, community-run thing. So any help at all really goes a long way. This is our third day of the group matches, and we have many more days yet to go. This is only stage 1 of the group stages, in fact, with at least 2 more planned, at least. And then, of course, we'll have a whole brackets ready. So the refs are currently trying to see if the battlers are ready. One is Schrader for PixelmonGO. They'll be representing them and hopefully allowing them to win their third game, which would give them a very strong showing. I don't know if Unsorted. Okay, AO is ready. AO5346, or apparently AO for short, is ready for Team Unsorted. Both teams have just been given the team previews. Given a tiny moment to at least prepare and think. AO has a lot of pressure on their shoulders right now. As Unsorted has yet to score any points at all in this first part of group stage. So it's very important that they win this match, or they'll be going away from group stage 1 with no points at all, which will mean they will struggle considerably in the later rounds. Of course, it won't mean they're out. As I said, there are multiple group stages, so just because a team doesn't get any in the first group stage doesn't mean much. But every point
There we
counts.
go. Looks
as
like
the
the
battle
battles
begins.
have begun.
It's an Urshifu Rapid Strike on one side and a Shuckle on the other. Always love to see it. Always love to see the Shuckle. Although
It
you
appears
never
that,
want, you
Unsorted is-
never love to see it when the other team brings it out. Of course, the Urshifu does threaten the Shuckle. One of the few Pokemon that actually can threaten a Shuckle. At least, right from turn 1.
And I'm checking the pool right now. Things are looking very much with although
Ooh,
I do imagine
Shuckle with a red card, forcing out the Urshifu. And as the
as
Shuckle
sticky
uses
webs have been
sticky
set up.
webs. Very interesting. Sticky webs is a team that is a move that can single-handedly win a fight if the opposing team has no hazard clearing at all. It is potentially a devastating move. So an Iron Valiant comes out, uses Focus Blast, does actually hit the Focus Blast, and the Shuckle goes down. But I don't think that matters. I think
That's
the
actually a
Shuckle
little
did
bit interesting,
exactly what
as
it wanted.
usually they run Aura Sphere, do they not?
Usually they do because it's safer, but if you want that higher burst damage, then Focus Blast is going to do it. Especially if you have a Fightinium Z set, then that's going to Focus Blast is best. At least if you're running special. As
Well,
the
that's the question that
Caesar
remains.
comes
Is
out.
Titanium Z, and out comes the Scizor. We might not know until considerably later then.
As this Iron Valiant is likely going to switch out here. Don't imagine it will stay in. Lankia, we're only getting battle music in the final match of the day. Oh, the Scizor switches out into the Thunderous. As Iron Valiant uses Thunderbolt, and the Thunderous with Volt Absorb does not care.
Honestly, an incredible play here.
I don't even know if that was intentional, but if it was, then that was a fantastic predict on Schrader's side.
That certainly is the case. Things are
As the
very much
Caesar comes back in, not caring about the well, does care a little bit about the
the
movie
amount
blast,
of
but
reads being performed right now is insane.
I'm unsure what the purpose of this is though, because as yes, Scizor megas, likely bullet punches. This Corviknight not doing too much. Corviknight does have leftovers, does not have a rocky helmet. I don't think this Scizor really threatens the Corviknight that much, and it switches out into Superior. Is the Corviknight Iron Defenses? This is an Iron Press Corviknight, most likely. Superior with glaring the Corviknight, paralyzing it. As the Corviknight Brave Birds almost killing the Superior, taking it really, really low, but not quite killing it and taking some recoil in the process. The Thunderous comes out, not taking too much from the body press. This is a fast match. Um,
Very much so. However, keep in mind, um, obviously this Corviknight is not safe, but what is the play that's going to be made here?
I'm not sure. We haven't seen too much of AO's team.
Oh, what on earth has happened here? It appears there might
This
have been a
this happened earlier. This happened earlier. They just switched to a Latios, and the exact same thing happened earlier. Um,
Thankfully, it was considerably earlier in the match this time, meaning there's not much to be recovered.
so I think what might be happening here is earlier in the day, the first match between PixelmonGO and Unsorted, um, the person fighting for Unsorted switched to a Latios, and the game crashed. Not the game crashed, sorry, their battle crashed, force ended. And just now, once again, the PixelmonGO player, I believe this time, although I might be wrong with that, used switched to a Latios. It crashed again. So I think it might be an issue with Latios, perhaps. See what the ref's decision is on this.
Looks like we're waiting for things to happen. This kind of stuff is expected for some of the more niche situations here. But things are looking overall to be very interesting. We'll have to see. Just a little. We'll have to wait just a little bit longer in order to determine how successful it'll be for Unsorted to bring it back.
So I think is what's happening is the two battlers are being told to use a different team. All right, so yep, ref's decision is we're going to restart the match. Both players are going to be both players are going to be using brand new teams, so as to avoid confusion and also perhaps any unfair things.
Well, this
Build late, I'm gonna be honest, I have to like squint to read your messages, and even then I could basically not read them. I actually like find a really white rock or something and overlay the text over that. All right, Schrader is ready. AO is currently prepping their second team. Never mind, Schrader is not ready. AO is, however, now ready, and Schrader appears to be ready too. They're going to be starting any moment now. I think we're about to have this restart of our match, should I say? Yeah, both players are ready. I think we're just waiting on something behind the scenes.
It looks like the matches are about to start, though, so we'll have to see what happens here.
Lanky, everything good?
Confirmation. We'll need some confirmation real quick to see how things are going.
Lanky, you there?
Yes, I believe we're starting here soon.
I do believe both band players are ready. Is there? Oh, there we go.
There we go. After a brief wait, we're finally back into things as we move on to the next set of battles.
And I immediately see a Tornadus and a Tornadus. course, Tornado is a Pokemon that has recently come out of its Gen 8 ban. As one Tornado is Bleak Wind Storms, and the other one U-turns out. Of course, any damage it would have taken will be given back to it through a regenerator.
I will say at the current moment, I'm not entirely certain how much will be recovered. Yeah, not enough to fully heal. But keep in mind though, we have a Darkrai here providing a very much a lot of pressure here, as Tornadus does trade speed for bulk. This is going to be a tough case for AO to determine how to go forward. The more important question, though, is does
Darkrai,
this
of course, hits very hard, and Ice Beam, of course, is super effective. But I don't know if with Ice Beam being non-stab, even with Darkrai's special attack set, if that kills, it will certainly hurt. But I don't know if it kills. And it goes for a Dark Pulse instead. Ice Beam would have killed, but she decided not to. Perhaps
as
he doesn't have
Bleak
it.
Wind Storm, of course, being Bleak Wind Storm misses.
Very risky decision there. Either way, this Tornadus is either going to die this turn or it's going to get out this turn. Either if it does get out, it will of course have Regenerator, which will bring it up to just below half. It does switch out as the Urshifu comes in, taking
As
Dark
Urshifu
Pulse and
comes back
taking.
in. Dark Pulse dealing a little under half health here, which, at least in my eyes, is actually
So
a
we got
little
to those
impressive.
Toxapex with the Urshifu Swords Dancing. Any other stole or like wall Pokemon would perhaps be scared just about seeing that, but not a Toxapex, because a Toxapex can really just haze that away if it's running it, which it
Another
is.
thing
The
to keep in
sword
mind,
stance
though,
is
Surfing
gone.
Strikes once again going for critical hits as Hayes has eliminated the stat changes. At this point, Urshifu is forced to either swap, and here comes the Toxic.
The
Meowscarada.
Meowscarada, very much a potential threat. Very, very hard hitter, very, very fast, but also very, very fragile. But of course, wouldn't really care much about the damage output of a Toxapex, especially now that it's been poisoned. Meowscarada really stay in the field for long. It's not really good. That's not going to affect it too much, and it's not going to hurt nearly as much as a Scold's Burn might have. If anything, it probably appreciate the toxic over the burn in this case. So I don't expect
While
it to
that's
stay in the
true,
field
keep
for
in mind,
long.
I don't think Rillaboom is on this team, so any damage on this Meowscarada is permanent. In comes the Kartana as this is actually a life orb too.
Oh, it's
And
not
in
Choice Scarf. Very interesting. Meowscarada switches to the Heatran. Not a whole lot the Kartana can do about a Heatran, and it is beyond threatened. The only defensive capabilities Cortana has at all is a slightly above average defense stat, where its special defense stat is absolutely atrocious. This Heatran beyond threatens it. It needs to get out of this field. We're still early game. There's going to be things that can switch into a Heatran safely. This Cortana is very likely going to switch out. I don't imagine why you need to sack this thing or this early on.
another thing to keep in mind, and we saw this earlier today, Toxapex might not be as safe as one would imagine, partly due to the Magma Storm.
Although we don't know if this Heatran is running that yet.
That much is
U-
true. We'll have to see for ourselves.
Usually Heatrans will either run Lava Plume or Magma Storm. Of course, Lava Plume is more for consistency. It has a higher burn rate than Flamethrower. The Cortana goes for a
Here we
Sacred
go. They're actually
Sword,
going for
not killing the
Sacred Sword
Heatran.
here. Unfortunately, Earth Power is not
Oh,
quite enough to KO. However, I don't think you had a safe switch anymore.
oh, it
In
does
comes the
KO.
Darkrai.
It does KO. Cortana's dead. So Darkrai comes in.
Heatran. Is this potentially a Scarf
Uh,
Heatran, actually?
Potentially. I'd be very surprised. I'd assume that also means the Kartana is a scarfed Kartana.
And
Very
in
interesting.
comes the
The
Urshifu now.
Urshifu.
We are witnessing potentially our first hyper offense battle as Urshifu Rapid Strike does come in. In comes the Pex, though, as
The
Meowscarada comes
Predict.
back in turn.
Very interesting.
See, this is actually interesting because something we're not entirely certain about is what this Toxapex is running. By all means, although Flower Trick might do a lot, it could be bulky enough to potentially survive.
Not to mention, there's always the possibility that Toxapex is running Baneful Bunker.
Much is
Which
true as
although
well.
I don't believe Flower Trick is as a contact move. All of the other moves that Meowscarada likes to run is contact. Play Rough, Thunder Punch, Knock Off, U-Turn, all of that. It's all contact. So it doesn't seem to matter as it does go for the Flower Trick, doing just under 50%. So
As
just over
Skull comes in
50%.
and deals a
That
little bit of
won't
extra damage.
that will
Whatever
not
is
matter
coming in
too
next
much.
is not going to like the oncoming
I
Flower
just
Trick.
realized that
Oh,
Toxapex did not regenerate any health. There's no leftovers or Black Sludge on that Toxapex.
here comes a Recover, though. Now, this is interesting, actually, choosing to swap into Tornadus here.
But that very
What
much leaves me curious. I don't think I ever saw a knockoff. I'm very curious as to what that Toxapex is running item-wise.
potential? I'm imagining Rocky Helmet might be the answer. As
Rocky
Slowking
Helmet or
comes
Assault
in
Vest,
and
yeah.
falls for
Slowking
the
comes in.
taunt.
Oh, that is going to heavily cripple the Slowking. That means it also cannot pivot out with Chilly Reception. It's probably going to have to hard switch here. They could start not
Unless it's
doing
going
too
for something else
much.
here, as we see
Future
Slowking
Sight.
going for Future Sight. Keep in mind, unless Meowscarada comes back in, which is very much a possibility, Tornadus
U-turning
going for
out.
U-turn. Does a Sludge Bomb come out and threaten the Tornadus here? As Meowscarada comes
Tornadus
in, and there
regenerating
we
almost at
go.
full and
The
does
correct
die to
read has been
Sludge Bomb.
made. Sludge Bomb has taken it out.
The Banet comes in. Is this a question? I'm assuming this is a. Oh no, it's not a Mega Banet. Oh no, it might be Mega Banet. I've read it the wrong way. Sorry,
We also
read
get
Frisk the wrong way.
confirmation,
Yes.
although it not sure how helpful it will be. Bayonet has Frisk heavy duty boots on it. In comes the Toxapex once
It is a
again.
Mega Banet. Is it
And Poltergeist is
Poltergeist?
a
The
little
Toxapex.
under half.
Toxapex is running heavy duty boots. Interesting. Banet
There is
takes
a
the
fair
future
argument to
sight,
be
taking about
made.
50%.
I don't know how much I know a Toxapex would be able to take another hit here.
I don't know. I think a Poltergeist is the hardest a Mega Banet can hit, and I don't know if it does enough.
That is true. It depends on whether or not this was a low or high roll. If it was a low roll, then Toxapex has a chance to be fainted. However, even then, I do imagine that Toxapex will probably still Ooh, there we go.
The
Slowking
Thunderwave,
going.
but a miss. It's very unfortunate.
See, this is interesting.
Does get
Bayonet
it this
once again
time.
going for Thunderwave here as Chilly Reception comes back out. Potentially, we were waiting for Regenerator to come into play.
A speed cripple on Slowking doesn't hurt too much because it's already very slow.
Ooh, this is
Ooh.
interesting. Now we're gonna see for ourselves as
even with
we'll have to see
Prankster,
how
I
this
don't
Darkrai
think Banet,
acts here.
unless the Darkrai goes for a Z Hypnosis that gets taunted, which I very much doubt. Okay, the Banet is just going to go for Thunderwave.
Dark Pulse
fails.
comes out and it fails. Of course, do keep in mind with Prankster, that is guaranteed to not work against Darkrai
Indeed.
here.
Praxor just fails against dark types.
And out comes Darkrai, in comes the Pex.
Possibly was not known by AO, possibly.
And now we watch. Surging Strikes is coming out. I do imagine there's potentially a recover. No, it's actually, in fact, a Scald. This might be enough for Urshifu to overwhelm the Toxapex here.
I do believe it might be. No, not quite.
Actually, he's choosing to
The
Surging
Urshifu,
Strikes once more as Recover comes back.
the Urshifu probably should have Sword Stance that turn. I didn't.
Urshifu once again
Just-
going for Surging Strikes. As Scald comes out once again, this Toxapex will be able to 1v1 the Urshifu here.
I also want to
Unless, no,
remind
he's
you
still
that
choosing the Surging.
Surging says perhaps it's choice. No, it's not choice because he's Sword Stance. I'm not quite sure what the idea is here because it's gonna die, and okay, comes out.
Out
For
comes the Garganacl as Scald comes back out. There we go. This is interesting as Solcure will be dealing very good damage. Out comes
As the
Toxapex and in
Rillaboom
comes
comes
the Boom.
out. To it, and a lot they can, as it will die next turn if it does not switch out. And there's only so many things that they can switch out to.
Grassy Glide
It's
once
going
more
to die.
KO it.
Looking rough for AO as Schrader is able to pick up more and more momentum as the Tornadus comes back on field.
Now this is the problem. In comes the Tornadus once again. How much damage is this going to do? In comes Slowking, surviving the heat wave. Very
Also
expectedly.
now
frankly.
revealing the heat wave. Now Schrader knows that they're going to be a lot more careful around it.
Slowking going for taunt. However, the paralysis does go through. I do think this Slowking is free to. Oh, never mind. Sludge Bomb comes in. Urshifu faints. And I do believe this is the final Pokemon left, potentially.
Future sighting, making sure to get damage in. It does take a Bleak Windstorm in the process, but doesn't matter too much. Doesn't do a huge amount.
While that
Although
is true,
takes another
in
one,
comes the
takes a
Sludge
Sludge Bomb as well.
I do think a Future Sight is enough to KO here, even with
And
the
and
with a
even if it
Slowking stack.
wasn't, there are still many things that
Oh, that's interesting.
Schrader has.
Frostbite comes out, but it doesn't quite matter at this point. There we
Schrader
go.
does
Schrader has
win
successfully beaten
5
AO.
Pokemon up. That is a 3-0 for PixelmonGO. Very, very strong showing. Unsorted will have to work extra hard in the upcoming fights it has in the next group stages, as it has no points on the board. In fact, it has negative points on the board due to losing 3 matches. Good fights all around, though. Some very good showings from both sides. But
And once again, we do thank you all for being here on stream as well, watching these games go by and cheering your favorite teams on.
Of course, you can see a lot more on the Pixelmon World Cup website. You can see the servers participating there. Thank you to all the servers that are participating. As well as you can see a big list of all the players participating as well as the current standings of the teams. And also, I know I mentioned it earlier, but I will mention it again. Pixelmon World Cup is accepting any sponsorships, any support. There's a section of the website that is open to that. This is a completely community-run event. If you want to at all help out, we're more than willing to receive any generous offers that people may have. Thanks again to all the people behind the scene, all the refs, Lanky and all the other managerial people behind the scenes that are working hard to make sure that this happens and that it's working as well as it can. We have some issues here and there, but nothing that can't be ironed out. And we will be back tomorrow with some more matches between, let me check. Between Squirtle Squad MC and Astral Pixelmon. And a couple hours after that, Smash MC versus Pokenova. Um, I do hope that everyone comes back and watches. I'm more than happy to have you here. My name was, I was going to say was, as if it wasn't that going forward. My name is Elba, and happy to commentate here today.
Delta signing out. I hope you all continue to have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night. We'll see y'all next time.